Erev Tov Rabotai, we are continuing with our Mishna Yomi, Masechet Sanhedrin. We are up to Perek Chet, Mishnah Zayin. Today's Mishnayot should be Le'ilui Nishmat, Neria ben Svetlana, Ranbai, Eliyahu ben Burcha Israelov, Chana bad Miriam, Sason ben Ryan, Yoshua ben Shifra, Menuchatam began Eden, Amen. And Avdil ben Chaim lechaim v'derefua shenemav Daniel Shalom ben Rosa, Betor Shach Chole Israel, and Dachlama Merav Binyamin, Od Zion Chai ben Dvorah. The previous Mishnah taught that a thief who breaks into a house may be killed if necessary in order to prevent him from killing the homeowner. This Mishnah deals with similar situations. These are the people whom we save from sinning even at the cost of their lives, meaning one must kill them if necessary to prevent them from carrying out the following attacks. Someone chasing after another person to kill him. A man chasing after a man or boy to violate him against his will. And a man chasing after a betrothed nara to violate her against her will. Now the Mishnah specifies a betrothed nara as opposed to any other married woman, because the permission to kill a pursuer is implied by a verse that speaks specifically of one who violates a betrothed nara in Dvarim chapter 22 verse 27. But in fact, the same law applies whenever a man is pursuing a woman who is forbidden to him under penalty of karet or execution. This includes any married woman as well as close relatives. In each of these cases, if there is no other choice, one must kill the pursuer in order to save his intended victim from death or violation. The obligation to stop the pursuer rests on anyone who has the ability to do so. However, he may not be killed unless he was warned first to stop. In addition, he may not be killed if he can be stopped in some other way, for example, by wounding him. Now, this Mishnah's law about someone who intends to commit murder is different from the previous Mishnah's law, which concerned a burglar who is prepared to kill the homeowner. In the case of the burglar, since it is merely assumed that he will kill the homeowner, killing him is only permitted. In the case of this Mishnah, by contrast, where he will certainly kill the person he is chasing, killing him or stopping him in some other way is obligatory, as the Rambam writes in Lechot Ginevat chapter 9, Alachot 7, and Lechot Rotzeach chapter 1, Alachot 6 through 9. The Mishnah now lists people who may not be killed even though they are on their way to commit serious transgressions. However, if someone is chasing after an animal to sin with it, or he is about to desecrate Shabbat, or he is about to worship an idol, we may not save any of them at the cost of their lives. Even though these are among the most serious sins, it is forbidden to kill the pursuer in order to prevent him from doing them. It is certainly forbidden to kill someone who is about to do any other sin. One is obligated to kill a pursuer only where this is necessary to protect his intended victim in the cases listed earlier. It could have been thought that one who pursues an animal may be killed to prevent him from sinning, because this is similar to cohabiting with the forbidden person. Likewise, it could have been thought that one who is about to worship an idol or desecrate Shabbat may be killed first, because he denies basic principles of Judaism. Worshipping an idol contradicts belief in God, and desecrating Shabbat contradicts the belief that God created the world. To correct these mistaken assumptions, the Mishnah teaches that killing the pursuer is forbidden even in these cases. It follows that killing someone who is about to commit any other sin, even one punishable by karet or the death penalty, is certainly forbidden. Instead, one must warn the pursuer, and if he sins anyway, he is taken to court to be judged. And that is the end of Chapter 8, Mishnah 7. We continue with Chapter 9, Mishnah 1. The Mishnah lists the sinners whose punishment is execution by burning. The process of burning is described earlier in Chapter 7, Mishnah 2. And these are the ones who are sentenced to burning. Habal isha bitah, one who cohabits with the woman and her daughter, meaning he cohabits with his mother-in-law after having married her daughter. The penalty of execution is only for cohabiting with his mother-in-law. The Mishnah says a woman and her daughter because this is how the prohibition is written in Vayikra chapter 20 verse 14. And in each of the Mishnah's cases, both the man and the woman forbidden to him are sentenced to execution. So one who cohabits with the woman and her daughter, meaning he cohabits with his mother-in-law after having married her daughter, ubat kohen shezinta, and the married daughter of a kohen who commits adultery, as stated in Vayikra chapter 21 verse 9. Now usually an adulterer and an adulteress are executed by strangling, as it will say in chapter 11, Mishnah 1. But if she is a daughter of a Kohen, only the man is punished with strangling, while she is punished with burning. Now, the Torah in Vayikra, chapter 20, verse 14, states explicitly that cohabiting with one's mother-in-law is punished with burning. It is derived from this verse that the same punishment applies to other relatives. Yesh bichal isha bita, included in the verse about a woman and her daughter are these relatives: bito, bat beno, a man's daughter, the daughter of his daughter, and the daughter of his son. When the Mishnah says his daughter, it does not refer to his daughter from his wife, because such a daughter is included in his wife's daughter. Rather, this is a daughter born from a union between himself and a woman who was not his wife. Similarly, when it says the daughter of his daughter and the daughter of his son, it refers to daughters of his children who were born to him by a woman who was not his wife. Daughters of the children of his wife will be listed later. So again, a man's daughter, the daughter of his daughter, the daughter of his son, ubat ishto, bat bita, bat bena, the daughter of his wife, the daughter of his wife's daughter, and the daughter of his wife's son. Now his wife's daughter includes not only the daughter of himself and his wife, but also the daughter of his wife from another marriage, like his stepdaughter. Likewise, the daughter of his wife's daughter and the daughter of his wife's son refers to daughters born to any child of his wife, whether that child is from himself or another man. Chamotovem chamiv, his mother-in-law. Now, although his mother-in-law was already mentioned, the Mishnah includes her by way of introduction to his mother-in-law's mother and his father-in-law's mother. So again, his mother-in-law, the mother of his mother-in-law, and the mother of his father-in-law. The Mishnah now lists the sinners who are executed by beheading, and these are the ones who are sentenced to beheading. The method of beheading is described in chapter 7, Mishnah 3. Harotzach, a murderer, and the people of a corrupted town who worshipped idols. If all or most of a town's residents were persuaded to worship idols, the idol worshippers are executed through beheading and not through stoning, which is the usual punishment for idol worship. Laws of the corrupted town, the Ir are taught in chapter 10, Mishnah 4 through 6. Now, having mentioned the crime of murder, the Mishnah elaborates upon it. If a murderer struck his friend with a stone or with a piece of iron, these are the Torah's examples of murder in Bamidbar, chapter 35, verse 16 and 17. Or if he held him down in water or in fire so that he could not escape from there, and he died, Chayav, the murderer, is liable to execution. Even if the victim fell in the water or in the fire by himself, but he could have escaped, and the murderer directly prevented him from escaping by holding his head, the murderer is liable to execution. But if he pushed him into the water, into the fire, and he was able to escape from there, but he died anyway, Patur, the murderer, is not liable to execution. In this case, even though the murderer pushed the victim into the water, into the fire in the first place, he is not executed because the victim could have escaped. Shisa bo et hakelev, shisa bo et hanachash. If someone incited a dog against another person, or incited a snake against him, and the animal bit that person and killed him, patur, he is not liable to execution because he caused the victim's death only indirectly. It was not the person, but the dog or snake that killed the victim. The person is responsible only for an indirect act of murder, which does not carry the death penalty. However, although he is not put to death by a human court, he is liable to death at the hands of heaven, as the Rambam writes in Nechot Rotzech, chapter 3, halakha 10. However, if he stuck the snake's teeth into him and thereby killed him, Rabbi Yehuda rules that he is liable to execution because this is a direct act of murder, but the sages ruled that he is not liable because even this is only indirect. Rabbi Yehuda holds that a snake's poison is stored between its fangs, so when someone inserts a snake's fangs into another person, it is as though he injected the poison directly into him. This is a direct act of murder for which he is executed. According to the sages, however, a snake's poison is not stored in its fangs. Rather, the snake itself brings up the poison from elsewhere in its body. Therefore, it was not the person that killed, but the snake. The person caused the death only indirectly, which is not enough to make him liable to the death penalty. And the Rav tells us that halakha follows the opinion of the Chachamim. Now, in the next case, the victim of a murderer did not die right away. Rather, he improved at first, and it seemed that he might live, but then he died. Hamaket chavero ben be'even ben be'egrof. If one person struck another with a stone or with his fist, these are the Torah's examples in Shemot, chapter 21, verse 18, of a situation where it was not clear right away whether the victim will die. V'amadu lemita, and the judges assessed that he would die from the attack. but he improved enough that the judges changed their minds and assessed that he will live. And then he got worse and died. Chayav. The killer is liable to execution. Since the judge's first assessment was that the victim would die, and he indeed died without ever making a full recovery, the killer is responsible for his death. The next Tana disagrees. Rabbi Nechemia says Patur, he is not liable to execution, because there is support to the idea that his death resulted from some other cause besides the attack. According to Rabbi Nechemia, the fact that the victim's health improved after the attack shows that it was not the attack that killed him, but some other cause. If the judges originally assessed that the victim would live, and then he got worse and died, everyone agrees that the attacker is not liable because the death was probably caused by another factor. And that is in the botai of today's Mishna Yomi. Baruch Adonai Leolam. Amen v'amen.